Russia and Ukraine are trading blame after a drone hit a Black Sea resort area on Monday. A warning that the video we're about to show you is disturbing. Russian officials say at least 7 people were killed when a Ukrainian drone went down on this crowded beach. They say 4 of the victims were children. A regional governor claims the casualties were caused when debris from a drone fell. Ukraine says the drone was brought down by Russian air defenses. And in a separate incident, a man in Kherson, Ukraine, was chased by a drone. We want to warn you that this video is also disturbing. Ukrainian officials are calling this a Russian war crime. The man survived with several injuries. Ukrainian officials say the man is a street vendor, not a combatant. Let's bring in CNN's Claire Sebastian, joining us live now from London. So this took place in the city of Kherson. You see this drone attack basically targeting a market street vendor. Just walk us through what happened here.
Yeah, so the first thing to say, Zain, is that he survived. He was then talking about the incident several hours later. He was injured, he said that during that incident, he gestured to the drone to try and show it that he was only selling vegetables. And interestingly, he also said that this was the second time he had actually had to try to avoid a targeted drone attack. President Zelensky has come out and said that this is an example of a tactic that we saw emerge around mid-2024, what he calls a human safari by Russia, essentially drones seeming to target unarmed civilians out in the open. Now, Russia regularly says, of course, that it doesn't target civilians. We have reached out to the Russian Ministry of Defense on this incident and haven't heard back. Of course, this is a pretty disturbing incident. You can see the aftermath there, video released by the Ukrainian authorities in that incident. But again, look, the man survived, a lucky escape here. But I think this sheds light on the situation in Kherson. This is really the biggest Ukrainian city that sits on the front line. It's separated only by the Dnieper River from the Russian forces. They are under near constant attack. Drone nets cover the streets in this city. This is life here, and it's getting increasingly dangerous as Russia tries to push forward and, if not take more territory. Obviously, it lost Kherson when Ukraine liberated it in late 2022. It's trying to make life as difficult as possible for civilians still in this area. Zain?
And also another attack, this time Ukrainian drone apparently targeting a beach at a Black Sea resort. Just walk us through what happened. We understand that about 3 children were killed in this attack.
Yeah, I mean, big picture of these 2 incidents show together that civilians are increasingly paying the price for this war. This was what the Russian authorities in the Krasnodar region where this took place are saying was debris from a falling drone. The toll is now up to 7 people killed, quite a number of injuries as well. 4 of them children, according to the Russian Children's Rights Commissioner, talking about this today. The Russians are saying this is terrorism by Ukraine. Point of fact is that they've spent most of the war calling Ukraine a terrorist state, so this sort of bolsters that argument. But they do also say it was falling debris that caused this. And now the Ukrainian side, we've heard from the head of the Center for Countering Disinformation, part of the Ukrainian government, saying that this was the work of Russian air defenses. So it isn't at this point exactly clear what happened here, but this is in the context of Ukraine escalating long-range attacks across Russia. This is a tactic that we've really seen building over the summer since they announced this 40-day campaign to try to turn around the war. Targets have started evolving into different areas. And I think, look, it is clear as these attacks escalate, the risk to civilians is going up. Zain.
All right, Claire Sebastian, live for us there. Thank you so much.
We have new video in showing what Ukrainian officials say amounts to another war crime committed by Russia. A warning before we show you, the video is disturbing, and the man you will see here did survive, but did suffer several injuries. Yes, this is in Kherson in the southern part of the country. Ukrainian officials say that the man is a street vendor, showed no signs of being a combatant, though you saw what happened to him with that drone there. Again, he survived, suffered a concussion and blast trauma. This attack comes as it appears Ukraine's war strategy is shifting. along with hitting military sites and oil refineries in Russia. In the past 2 weeks, according to a CNN analysis, there have been 16 long-range strikes on facilities linked to an online shopping company called Wildberries. It's Russia's equivalent, if you will, of Amazon. Joining me now for more on this, CNN contributor and former CNN Moscow bureau chief Jill Doherty. It's good to see you, Jill. Ukraine says that Wildberries, this company, that it was selling military equipment and sanctioned drone components. What do you think of this move by Ukraine?
Well, it's effective for the Ukrainians. You'd have to say that. I mean, hitting all of those hubs for this, kind of Russian version of Amazon is really important because this is a huge company. And what the Ukrainians are saying is that civilians who have relatives in the fight or people who are in the fight in the Russian army are actually going online and ordering things that are components, you could say military components. I mean, helmets, jackets, flak jackets, electronic components. And this is why the Ukrainians have decided to hit them. And of course, it creates a lot of havoc because this is part of the supply chain, not only, militarily, you could say, but certainly civilians. So it's really hurting them. And I think, just a shock factor of having these outlets and transit hubs being hit is really a factor psychologically in Russia right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also hitting at Russia's, continued expanding war economy, too. And then there's also what can only be described as more confusion over President Trump's promises when it comes to Ukraine. Earlier this month, Trump had announced, and everyone took note, that the U.S. was going to allow Ukraine to build its own Patriot missile systems, that the U.S. would share the tech so they could make these critically important defensive weapons. And now the president has said that's not what he agreed to. The quote to reporters was, it's a hard thing to give away that kind of technology. And also said because there is a risk that, quote unquote, those people you give the technology, they could someday turn on you. I mean, you can imagine the frustration of Ukraine's leadership on this, but Russia hears that and thinks what?
Well, yes, it's easy to say what the Ukrainians think, but those people, who exactly does that refer to? But I think the Russians are happy because if the Ukrainians do not get Patriots, then they have a huge problem in defending against what the Russians are using more and more and producing more of, which is these missiles. The Ukrainians are very good right now. They can essentially knock down about 90% of the drones incoming. But when it comes to missiles, those are huge and they need much more robust protection. And that means Patriot anti-missile defense. And if you don't get Patriots, then there's a real problem. Now, the Ukrainians, knowing that this is kind of back and forth with the president of the United States, they're beginning to develop. In fact, they say that they have in development a version of that type of missile protection, anti-missile protection, but it will take a while. All of this, I think, Kate, the main thing, all of this is going to take a long time. So even if they were able to, let's say, get a prototype by the end of the year, the bombing is happening right now. And as you can see, even from that drone footage, it is increasingly going after civilian targets.
Yeah, terrifying, that video. Jill, it's good to see you. Thank you so much.